Welcome back to the Cossy Arsenal channel. My name is Cossy. Welcome back to a brand new video. I'm excited. I'm really excited about this Arsenal team. I'm really excited about the new signings, but in particular, I'm very excited about this guy. I'm very excited about EZE. And in this video, I want us to talk about EZE, what he will bring to Arsenal, what he's already bringing to Arsenal. We have seen him in his full debut against Nottingham Forest. What a game of football. And for me, what a player that we got. What an impact that is already having on this team. And why, if Arsenal go on and do anything, regardless of the status of Martin Odegaard in this team, EZE is going to be such a very important player for Mikel Arteta and for Arsenal this campaign. Now, listen, we've had such a very good window. It's very rare for us to have such a very good transfer window. About 7 signings or 8 signings in there. And Christian Mosquera has been the most reliable of all. I mean, he comes into this team, he's replacing William Saliba. Obviously, it's very hard to replace William Saliba. The boots are very big, but he comes in and does very well. Martin Zubimendi, superb. Absolutely superb as well. But for me, the player that has actually caught my eye is EZE. And I want to talk about EZE because I didn't get really the opportunity to shoot a video about EZE. So let's talk about EZE. Now, honestly, Arsenal are about to go out of this window without EZE. It is thanks to that Kai Havertz injury that we signed EZE. And obviously, for Mikel Arteta, it was obvious he wanted a striker, which was Gyökeres. He had got one. He wanted one player that could back up Saka. He had got one in Noni Madueke. And EZE would have been a surplus to requirement with Kai Havertz already in the team. You have the likes of Mikel Merino. So maybe it would have been a surplus requirement. But Arsenal needed a player like that. And I think that for the better part of the summer, what I said was, Arsenal need a player that is forward-thinking. Arsenal need a player that is going to drive into dangerous areas. Arsenal need a player that thinks about creating goals and scoring goals. That is EZE. Now, you couple EZE with Victor Gyökeres and Noni Madueke, and you get what we got over the weekend against Nottingham Forest. A full performance of players that just are willing to drive into the dangerous areas. Players that are willing to do things differently. I mean, if it's Odegaard, in many of those situations, he's turning the ball back. If it is Martinelli, in all those situations, he's actually turning the ball back. But EZE doesn't do that. He's a player that will pick up the ball, deeper areas, dangerous areas, and drive. And just, he just makes things happen, but going the other way. And I think that's the first thing that Mikel Arteta really gets from this summer. We are so lucky that we get EZE and he doesn't go to Tottenham, right? So the first thing that we have seen with EZE, and the first thing that I knew he would bring, was that directness, that proactiveness. He's not a reactive player. He's not going to be as defensive as the other players. He's a little bit careful. But I think we have enough careful players in this team. Odegaard is very careful with the ball. Martin Zubimendi is very careful with the ball. Obviously, we've talked about the likes of Mikel Merino and Declan Rice. They're so protective. They're so careful with the ball. And that means that you take less risks with such players, but you have the ball a lot of the time. And hence the problem we saw with Arsenal last campaign. We had the ball a lot of the time, but we couldn't choose it. Now, this season is a little bit different. Obviously, Martin Zubimendi is a different kind of number 6 that we have in the team. He loves to punch the ball through those lines. He's going to punch the ball through, and we have already seen it, and it's working. And the likes of Gyökeres are enjoying the fruits of having a player like Zubimendi behind them, the likes of Noni Madueke as well, and the likes of Martinelli as well. If you think about the Liverpool game, yes, we lose that game, but Arsenal really did a lot of very good things. Courtesy of Martin Zubimendi. So you have Martin Zubimendi who is always forward thinking. He wants to pass the ball forward through the lines. He wants to punch the ball through. Then you have Eberechi Eze. Eze is a different kind of player. For Arsenal, I would say we didn't have Eze, and like for a couple of years. The last player that we had that resembles Eze for me is either a Santi Cazorla or closer to a Messi Ozil. But of course, Ozil was a genius. He was a magician when he was on the ball. He made things happen in ways you couldn't believe, right? So the player that I can compare Eze to is Santi Cazorla. And why his role is very exciting, this guy, is this. He picks up the ball in dangerous areas. In areas where you expect the opponent to be overloading and crowded, because you want to protect that part of the pitch. You want to make sure that you don't concede. You want to make sure that whatever happens in your own half, you have enough bodies, you have enough numbers to stop the opponent, right? And we saw that with Nottingham Forest. Whenever Eze was on the ball, there were a couple of players. Whenever Madueke was on the ball and whenever Ethan Wanyeri was on the ball, there were many Nottingham Forest players to stop us. But the whole point of a player like Eze is he's comfortable in tight spaces, and he's so unreal with what he does in tight spaces. Like I don't know how he does what he does. I really don't care. I just want to see the final product. And the final product is unbelievably good. Really, really unbelievably good, right? So we lack that player that is so comfortable in tight spaces, but is then proactive. Because Odegaard is really, really comfortable in tight spaces. But the thing with Odegaard is he will always look for room to jump out of those tight spaces and then create more spaces by going backwards to his own goal. Eze, on the other hand, is different. Like, you will look at his passes, many of them are actually forward. And for me, it's no mistake that we see Eze starting over Gabriel Martinelli now. And it's no mistake that we'll see him start over Leandro Trossard. And Trossard is a beautiful player. Trossard is such quality. Like, I've told you before, for me, Trossard, most clinical player at Arsenal. For me, going forward, he's the most reliable I can think about. But Eberechi Eze introduces a new chapter at Arsenal, and we are gonna love it. I think Arsenal, the way we attack is gonna change, honestly, and it has already changed. We are looking at an Arsenal side that it doesn't matter how many bodies are there. We have players that are ready to go through. Eze is one of them, Eucharist is the other. Then you have Zubimendi, obviously, Rice, Merino. We have more players that are willing to go through, right? And that changes our game. And there are two problems that I've talked about on the channel that I really want to credit Mikel Arteta for solving, but also Eze for solving as well, because Eze solves those two problems. Problem number one is the second goal against Nottingham Forest. So if you look at that goal, it is, of course, it's solved by Gyökeres and Eze, and I talked about it in the summer. Ricardo Calafiori plays that ball in behind, and he knows Forest are keeping a high line, okay? And Eze and Gyökeres are ready to exploit that high line. So Gyökeres plays that ball over the top. It's a simple ball. It drops in behind. Eze is on it. The difference between Eze and Martinelli, Eze takes very little time to make a decision, and 9 times out of 10, or let's say 6 times out of 10, that decision is going to be the right decision, the correct decision, as compared to Gabriel Martinelli. So Calafiori plays that ball over the top. Eze is on it, cuts across. There is a striker there, Victor Gyökeres, and these two, three, Calafiori, Eze, and Gyökeres have outdone the whole Nottingham Forest defense, right? And that is something that Arsenal needed. We needed a pair. We needed a set of players that could help us beat high lines. Like, we played PSG last season. PSG played a very high line. We could have exploited. We have speed in Saka and Martinelli. The problem was effectiveness, right? And what EZE brings is effectiveness. So in behind, we have runners now in EZE and Gyökeres, but we also have effectiveness. And it's that effectiveness that causes the second goal. So I think when it comes to mid blocks and when it comes to low blocks, we're going to talk about low blocks as well. But when it comes to mid blocks, EZE just solves that problem. I told you two things. One, he's got the ability to carry the ball just through. He just carries the ball, right? He's got that ability. And we saw it, right? Then he's got that ability to run off the shoulder. He's got the pace and he's got the ability, the calmness to make the right decision in the final third. And then the other solution, the other problem that he solves is actually the low block, right? It's the low block. And what we are going to love about EZE, he allows us to play with two number 10s. Now, Mikel Arteta's tried to play with two attacking 8s, which was Odegaard and Rice. And in the Nottingham Forest game, what we saw, he played with two kind of 10s, right? Ethan Nwaneri, who is quote unquote a 10, 8/10, and then EZE, who played as a left winger, but narrowly, right? That again, that makes him, your second number 10. And the difference between Odegaard and Rice as a pair, and Nwaneri and EZE as a pair, is day and night. With Rice and Odegaard, you have two players that really are careful of not losing the ball. Will not take a lot of risks, but they're really, really careful. They'll take care of the ball very, very well. When it comes to Nwaneri and EZE, they didn't have the best performance, by the way, against Nottingham Forest, not really. But what they give you is that unapologetic move, an apologetic attack, that unapologetic. They just don't give a fuck, do they? They really, really don't care. They're just going to punch the ball through. They're just going to drive into spaces. They're going to create lines. They're going to break through the lines. That is what you get. So EZE allows us to play with two number 10s, two attacking midfielders. And what that does, obviously, it means that you block off the left-hand side, we play through the right-hand side. And Nottingham Forest had a lot of problems in that game. They had to deal with Noni Madueke, who was, stretching the pitch as wide as possible. And then him stretching the pitch as wide as possible obviously creates space for Ethan Nwaneri to run through, and also space for Victor Gyökeres as well, because he's making the pitch as big as possible. And then they also had to deal with the left-hand side, which was like just full of brilliance and intelligence. You had Ricardo Calafiore making, overlapping. And then you had EZE playing as narrow as possible, underlapping as well. And then you had, at times, Zubimendi joining in. At times, you had Mikel Merino joining in as well. It was fabulous, right? So when it comes to low blocks, I think it is now easier for us now to break down a low block, to break down the bus, if for any team that is ready to pack the bus against us, as compared to the last campaign. And it is because of this guy, the arrival of Eberechi Eze. Now, let's talk about his combination with Ethan Nwaneri. Obviously, he should be combining with Odegaard. But let's talk about his combination with Ethan Nwaneri. The thing is, when I think about Ethan Nwaneri, and then I think about Eze, these are two players that are very brave. Very, very brave. So, this is a combination we are going to see more often than not. So let's say we are taking on this Burnley team, or let's say we're taking on this Leeds United team, or let's say you're taking on our Wolverhampton Wanderers, maybe a team that's not really in good form. They can't defend for their lives. Even if their lives depended on it, they couldn't defend well. I think that is what we need to see. The unapologetic, the risk takers, right? Because there is very little threat from the opposition. Just play the attacking boys, right? And then, obviously, the reason as to why you can't drop Odegaard for Nwaneri is simple. Odegaard is your captain, that's number one, but also he's a very, very hard-working, loyal player. And you want to keep that energy in the team, and you want to keep that intelligence as well in the team as well. It's very, very intelligent player. But the reason as to why you would love to have Odegaard and Eze in the same team is obviously Odegaard is the opposite of Eberechi Eze. Odegaard is ready to find Eze, and Eze is ready to find Gyökeres. I think the problem that we have had as Arsenal fans is trying to force Odegaard to find the striker. He really, really doesn't do that. What he does is he will break through the lines initially to find Eze, and then Eze can find that final combination, that final pass into the striker, and things will happen. I'm really excited about Eze. I'm really excited about our season, especially with the kind of squad depth that we have in the team. It is despicable. It is disgusting. It is like we went into a game with Saka out, Saliba out, Odegaard got injured as well. Rice was on the bench, and we weren't worried, and we didn't flinch, and the performance was top notch. So for me, that is the window we've been all asking for. A window that is really good, a window that I would say we deserve as an Arsenal fan base, and we got it, and we were right? Look at Mosquera, look at Zubimendi, look at Eze, look at Gyökeres. Gyökeres, by the way, we'll do a video about him. But at the moment, Arsenal fans, enjoy. It's our season to lose for me. Yes, Liverpool are good, but it's our season.